Good morning. It's Sunday, May 10th. I'm Antonia Hilton, in for my friend Ali Velshi. 1 week after the U.S. Supreme Court effectively gutted the Voting Rights Act, Tennessee on Thursday became the first state to pass new congressional maps, dismantling the state's only majority black congressional district in the Memphis area. To do it, state Republicans first had to repeal a 56-year-old law prohibiting mid-cycle redistricting, allowing them to adopt the new maps 4 years before the next mandated census, effectively bypassing the traditional 10-year waiting period. On Wednesday, Republicans unveiled the new maps. Memphis, which previously was in Tennessee's 9th congressional district, which you can see on the left, has been carved into 3 districts, a community more than 60% black has been sliced and stretched into surrounding white rural counties, each designed to elect a Republican. Martin Luther King III sent a letter to Tennessee lawmakers imploring them not to pass these maps. This decision undermines the work that my father, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., carried out to help secure passage of the Voting Rights Act. Do not dismantle the only congressional district that provides black voters in Memphis a fair opportunity to have a voice in our democracy. Do not take this nation back to the days of Jim Crow, he said. On Thursday, the legislature passed the maps anyway. What happened next looked a lot less like a regular legislative session, more like a civil rights turning point, the stuff of our history books. As the final vote approached, Democratic senators linked arms on the floor, a flashback to the marchers who came before them. Hundreds of protesters flooded the state capitol, marching through its halls carrying signs. Senator Charlene Oliver stood up on a table and held up a white sheet reading, "No Jim Crow 2.0, stop the Tennessee steal." Security tore it from her hands. Oliver clapped and stomped in protest. Republican lawmakers laughed. Representative Jones later joined protesters outside and burned a paper printout of the Confederate flag. This in the state where the Ku Klux Klan was born. Governor Bill Lee approved the maps the same day. State Republican leaders called it an effort to modernize redistricting by removing racial data from consideration. Democratic State Senator London Lamar, who represents Memphis, wasn't buying it.
You cannot take a majority black city, fracture its voting power, and then tell us race has nothing to do with it. Racism does not become less racist because it's called partisan.
The gravity of this moment cannot be understood without knowing history. If you want to understand today's fight for American democracy, Tennessee is ground zero, where the story of American democracy keeps being rewritten in blood, in law, and in protest. It was back in 1865 when the Ku Klux Klan was founded in a law office out of Pulaski, Tennessee. In 1884, Ida B. Wells, renowned black journalist and activist, was forcibly removed from a train in Shelby County for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger, some 71 years before Rosa Parks would, of course, do the same thing. Wells' act of defiance spurred a lifetime of activism, including the creation of the NAACP, where she was a founding member, the same organization now challenging the state's redistricting maps more than a century later. Then there is the famed Beale Street in Memphis, where the blues found its voice and where black Tennesseans built a major hub of socioeconomic power in the Jim Crow South, a testament to black resilience in the face of a system designed to crush it. In 1940, a local NAACP chapter began registering black voters in Brownsville and was met with fierce violence. Organizer Albert Williams was lynched. A young Thurgood Marshall, who would later become the first black Supreme Court justice, investigated the case. The same court he would one day sit on is now dismantling what he spent his lifetime building. In 1960, black college students in Nashville sat down at a lunch counter and refused to move. They were beaten, dragged out, and arrested, and still they came back the next day. Within weeks, those sit-ins spread across the South, sparking a movement that would genuinely transform this country. In 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, cutting short a life that would forever reshape the moral arc of our nation. The struggle for America's soul has always run through Tennessee. This week, we watched the next chapter of that battle unfold. The NAACP on Thursday filed an emergency lawsuit seeking to block the new maps, arguing the effort to dismantle the state's only majority black district was both racist and illegal. During Wednesday's special session on congressional redistricting, State Representative Jesse Chisholm posted a simple question to the body's majority leader, William Lamberth.
I'm just going to ask some really simple questions. So, Memphis is a predominantly African-American city, right? Is that correct?
Leader Lamberth.
I'm not privy to those demographics. I don't know.
Let me stay on the same pathway. The 9th Congressional District. That is the only majority black congressional district in the state of Tennessee. I'm just asking the question. Do you find that to be true?
Leader Lamberth, you recognize.
Sir, I'm not privy to those demographic information. I've not looked that up in any way, shape, form, or fashion when filing this particular bill.
Yeah, seems a little far-fetched. Aside from the fact that the district is overwhelmingly black to the naked eye, as you can see here, the data is publicly available. William Lamberth has served as majority leader in the Tennessee House for 7 years. He's been a member for 12. It says a great deal that the longtime majority leader who spearheaded the effort to carve up the state's only black majority district appears blissfully unaware of its makeup. Now hold that next to what happened in Virginia this week, where voters spent months hearing about new district maps, where they went to the polls and cast their votes on those maps, and where the state's Supreme Court has now thrown those results out. Think about what we're being asked to accept here. In Virginia, a process with public deliberation of vote Democratic participation rendered invalid. In Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, states where primaries have been canceled, 40,000 votes dismissed, and maps redrawn within days by a supermajority, handed a permission slip by a Supreme Court that just resurrected Jim Crow. And we're told that's all just politics as usual. It's hard to make sense of those two realities coexisting in a democracy. The Atlantic's Ann Applebaum reminds us that Tennessee Republicans, upon gaining total control of the legislature, did not become more magnanimous. They became more aggrieved, more radical. Writing in 2023, she notes, quote, "They are going to win the next election and probably the one after that, yet they sound as if winning isn't enough. They also want their opponents to fall silent, and they are doing what they can to make that happen. There's a reason the nation's ghosts keep finding their way back to the Great Smoky Mountains, forcing us to relearn old lessons." The lunch counter protesters understood something, that the powerful have always tried to make people forget. That democracy is not self-executing. It requires people who refuse to be silenced and refuse to move. And Democratic State Representative Justin Jones of Tennessee joins me now. Representative Jones, it's good to see you this morning. I know that it's been a very heavy week for you and the entire black community in Tennessee. So I want to start with you telling our viewers what you were thinking and feeling throughout that entire process, knowing Republicans were hell-bent on passing these maps, regardless of what you or really any black people in Tennessee had to say.
Yeah. I walked into the Capitol on Thursday in 2026, and when I walked out at the end of the session, it was pre-1965. What I witnessed was a Capitol Klan rally where my majority white Republican colleagues turned back the clock of history and are perfectly okay with majority white districts. But it seems that they are very intent on this racial backlash, on breaking up black political power and representation in our state. And they've done it with surgical precision. And so I have grief. What I thought about were my grandparents who left the South to go to Chicago, left West Tennessee to move to Memphis during Jim Crow, leaving this type of terror, leaving this type of regression and attack on their humanity and on their existence in our democracy. And so I had grief, I had anger, I had righteous indignation. But I also just am thinking of all of our civil rights elders and martyrs who basically these white Republicans spit on the graves of all those who paid with days in jail cells and nights of bomb threats, paid with blood for the crown jewel of the civil rights movement, which was the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
You watched Majority Leader Lamberth, and we played the clip moments ago, tell Representative Chisholm that he had no idea Memphis was a majority black city, just hadn't had a chance to take a look at the demographic data. You know, as a journalist who spent a lot of time in Memphis, you can spend about 5 minutes there after you land at the airport, and you know that this is a majority black community, a black-led city. What did you make of that moment?
I mean, it's insulting. Representative Lamberth, the Republican majority leader, is one of the most racist and vitriolic members of our legislature. He is somebody who has called me boy, and, you know, as a member and as his colleague. And we know that they see race because they have been so intent on silencing black voices. 1 in 5 black Tennesseans cannot vote because of felony disenfranchisement. They're perfectly okay with seeing race when it's about resegregating our schools and defunding our public education system, or trafficking black bodies through their private prison system, as we saw here, where North Nashville was one of the most incarcerated zip codes in the nation. And so they see race, but when they say we don't see color, what they mean is they don't see colored people. They don't see black and brown people. They don't see us as their neighbors, as their fellow Tennesseans, but they want to silence us. And what they've done is they've created majority white districts. Every district now in Tennessee will be a majority white district. Memphis will be connected to a congressional district that is over 300 miles away. They knew what they were doing. And so to Lamberth, I think it's time that he needs to be honest about who he is. He's somebody who's taken off the white hood. He wears a suit, but his intentions are just the same as those who came before us, who wanted to silence black voice with intimidation. But now he's using the power of the law once again to create systems in which we are separate and unequal, in which we're treated as second-class citizens in our democracy. And he's really dismantled the whole idea. Him and that Republican caucus has dismantled the idea and the hope of multiracial democracy in Tennessee. They represent the Confederacy, but I come to say that we are going to fight with everything we have. I burned the Confederate flag because we've defeated them again, and we will defeat them right now.
You mentioned the echoes of history there, and Tennessee is where the Ku Klux Klan was founded, where the lunch counter protests really took off, where MLK was, of course, murdered. When you're standing in that Capitol and you're linking arms with your colleagues and you're hearing these statements, like the one from Lamberth that we just described, do you feel the weight of history on you there?
I think what I think about are those ancestors who walked into that building. You know, we didn't get our first black congressman until the 70s. We did not, there are members who were not seated during, at the end of Reconstruction because they had this white backlash. And so what I feel is them saying that we've been here before and that the South must sound the alarm. Because it is not alarmist to say that we had a period where we had black lawmakers during Reconstruction, and then for almost 70 years, we had no one until the 1960s because they instituted policies like this to silence and dismantle black political power. And so what I feel is history saying that you must not just, look at this moment as what is happening now, but connected to a long lineage of liberation of which you are a part. This is the state where W.E.B. Du Bois was at Fisk University and says, so goes the South, as goes the nation. This is the state where Ida B. Wells said that the way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. This is the state where John Lewis trained in what he called good trouble. And so when you see something that is wrong, that is unjust, that is unfair, you must find a way to get in the way and get in good trouble. John Lewis and Diane Nash and Bernard Lafayette, they rose up against Jim Crow. And now it's our time to take on the children of Jim Crow, the children of Bull Connor and George Wallace, who've now taken hold of Southern legislatures and Southern governors' mansions. We must fight with everything we have because our children will judge us not by what we do, but by what we don't do. We must err on the side of action. And, we must put our purpose above our title and be unafraid and unintimidated.
What do we do if the new Jim Crow is less cross burnings, less literacy tests, and more about line drawing and claiming, race has nothing to do with any of this?
It can be as sophisticated and subtle as it wants. This can be the new James Crow Esquire. It can be, something that is more institutionalized, but it has the same intent. And what we must do is we must call it out for what it is. What we saw on Thursday was like a Klan rally. We had members who were seething and have waited decades to break up Black political representation. You know, in Alabama, you hear them talking about we want to go after the 14th Amendment next. They want to dismantle all the gains of the civil rights movement, of Reconstruction. And so what we must be clear about is we must call it out for what it is. This was a racial backlash. It is a form of racial terror. It is a form of dehumanization and removing representation, whether they do it with crosses and violence or they do it with the sophistication of suits and decorum. No matter how, I told one of the colleagues, no matter how much decorum they had on that House floor, their intent was policy violence. What they did was violence because it was violence to the legacy of the civil rights movement and the sacrifices made with blood and with brutality. It was violence to the Black communities who now will have no voice in our political process to address their grievances, to be heard as equal members of the society. It was violence against our future generations who see at this moment they are being told that you don't matter, that your voice does not matter, to shut up, sit down, as they love to tell us, as even members in that body. And so what we must do is we must let them know that sometimes our democracy requires disruption. We must put our morals above our manners. We must break decorum if we have to. We cannot have business as usual. I brought an air horn on the House floor because we must sound the alarm for our democracy, because if they come for one of us, they're coming for all of us. So my message to America is that Tennessee is the tip of the spear, but if we don't fight it here, that this is the front line, it will spread across this nation. And so do not give up on the South, but join us in the South, fight with us in the South, help us build infrastructure and help us to resist it here, because if this is the front line through history from Reconstruction to the Civil Rights Movement, and once again, it is the front line, and we need your help in the South. Join us, from Alabama to Louisiana to Tennessee to Mississippi. We need Southern solidarity, and we need folks not to give up on us, but to fight with us and let them know that we are standing together in this moment, and that we will, Tennessee may not be a swing state, but we will swing back if you try and kick us and beat us down and bring us backwards in history.
Thank you. Democratic Tennessee State Representative Justin Jones, thank you for taking me to church. Good to see you this morning.
Thank you.